you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. We unlocked the cabin, dropped our bags, started the fire, but he was already inside. We just didn't know until 3 AM, and by then, it was too late. My girlfriend and I booked the cabin to get away from everything. Jobs, phones, noise, stress. It was her idea. Katie had found it on a cabin rental site that featured remote, off-grid stays, the kind that only has wood stoves and chemical toilets. The ad said, Bitterroot backcountry hideaway, no neighbours for miles. That part sold us. We drove from Missouri for 2 hours, most of it on winding dirt roads. By the time we reached the turnoff, we hadn't seen another car for over an hour. We passed a locked gate, then climbed another 3 miles of steep, pine-dense terrain. Finally, we saw it. A 2-story log cabin tucked into a clearing. Metal roof, wide deck, quiet as death. Katie grinned and said, "Perfect murder cabin, huh?" She was joking, but that sentence would stick with me. We unlocked the door using the code the owner texted us earlier that morning. It opened easily. Inside, everything looked just like the photos. Rustic, clean, charming. The first thing I noticed was the warmth. The cabin should have been ice cold. It was mid-November and the snow flurries had followed us the last 20 minutes of the drive. But the interior was room temperature. Katie thought maybe sunlight through the windows had warmed it up, but the floorboards were warm too. Even the stove top felt recently used. We dropped our bags and built a fire anyway, then made dinner, canned stew and boxed wine. That night, we laughed about how creepy the woods felt and how off-grid we really were. No service, no Wi-Fi, no neighbours. It felt thrilling. Then around midnight, we heard the footsteps upstairs. We'd gone to bed early, small mattress, thick wool blankets, the firelight glowing orange against the walls. I woke up to the sound of someone walking slowly across the floor above us. Heavy steps, creaking boards. 1, 2, pause. 3, 4. I sat up, blinking. There was no upstairs bedroom. The cabin had a second level, yes, but it was just storage space. The owner had said it was sealed off. No interior stairs, just a pull-down ladder on the outside. So what the hell was walking around up there? I shook Katie awake. "I hear it too," she whispered. We sat in silence. The footsteps stopped. Then, a faint thump, like someone dropping to their knees. I grabbed the fire poker and stepped outside barefoot, shivering. I circled around the side of the cabin. The exterior ladder that led to the second-story hatch was pulled down. I pointed my flashlight up. The hatch was open, not just unlatched, wide open, with dark space inside. But I couldn't see movement, no sounds. Still, the ladder being down. That wasn't from the wind. I climbed up 3 steps and then stopped. I wasn't armed, I wasn't stupid. I backed down and returned inside. Katie wanted to leave right then, but the car was parked down the slope and the snow had just started sticking. We compromised, stayed up together with the fireplace stoked and the fire poker beside us. By 3:30 AM, we were still sitting by the fire. And then we heard the toilet flush. The bathroom was 5 feet from us, a tiny space behind a sliding door. Neither of us had gone in for an hour, and now we both heard it. Flush, creak of the floor, soft shuffle. I stood and slid the door open fast. Empty. The toilet seat was up, water still swirling. Katie said she was going to be sick. We packed our bags in under 3 minutes and agreed to sleep in the car. We threw on boots, jackets, everything we could carry, and stepped outside. That's when Katie whispered, "I locked that. Why is it open?" The car, the driver's door was wide open. We froze, then ran, not to the car, to the tree line, away from the cabin into the dark. I don't even remember running, just the blur of bark and branches. We eventually found a dry dip in the forest floor and huddled there until sunrise. No talking, just holding each other. When the sun came up, we walked back. The car door was closed, cabin door wide open. On the porch, something new, a cup of coffee, still steaming. We drove to the nearest gas station and used the clerk's landline. I called the cabin owner. He picked up on the first ring. I told him what had happened, about the footsteps, the hatch, the open car. There was a pause. Then he asked, "You said you arrived yesterday, Saturday, yeah? That's impossible. I didn't update the calendar yet. The key code isn't supposed to work until next week." I felt sick. It worked. It shouldn't have. Then who was in the cabin before us? He paused again. "No one. It's been empty for 3 months. The last renter left after hearing someone breathing under the floorboards." We went home and tried to put it behind us. But a week later, Katie was folding laundry when she found something strange in the corner of the dryer. A coat. Not mine, not hers. It was a thick men's canvas jacket, worn, dirty. Inside the pocket was a disposable camera. We got it developed. 10 photos. 8 were blurry shots of the trees. 1 showed our car. The final photo was of us, sleeping by the fire, from inside the cabin. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it, but sometimes I still wake up in the middle of the night and listen for footsteps above me, because I never saw his face, and I never locked the hatch when I left. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others. Hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. My friend said he heard voices behind the wall. By night 3, he was whispering back, but there was no one there, or so we thought. It was mid-October 2022 when my college roommate, Sam, and I headed to his family's old hunting cabin near Lake Placid. The place had been abandoned since his uncle's passing. We planned to clear the brush, fix the roof, and spend a weekend off-grid. We arrived at noon. The cabin stood silent among oats, paint peeling, windows clouded. Inside, layers of dust, spiderwebs, shattered tools. We fired up the generator, unloaded supplies, and set to work. By sunset, we patched holes, replaced boards, and built a fire. We slept in army cots, I on the left, Sam on the right. He snored softly. I drifted off. Around 1:47 a.m, I jolted awake to Sam murmuring, "They're asking for me." I sat up. His eyes were open, glazed. "Who?" I whispered. He turned towards the wall. "The ones in the wood." I thought he was dreaming. I shook him. No response. He sat up, pressed his ear to the log wall, listening. I grabbed my phone. No signal. I touched his shoulder. He jumped, startled. "Don't move," he said quietly. "They'll hear you." Morning light felt weak. Sam wouldn't speak of what he heard. We agreed to keep working, lift plaster, check for rot. Behind old insulation, we found scratch marks, thin, vertical, like fingernails. I asked Sam if he'd made them. He shook his head. "Listen." A faint thumping echoed, wood on wood, coming from inside the log wall. "It's a hollow crawl space. Someone's been in here." We pried at the floorboard. Beneath lay a narrow cavity, just enough for a small person. We strained to see, but the hole went dark. That night, Sam refused to sleep. He perched on the cot, headphones on, recording audio. I dozed lightly, until at 2:11 a.m, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I woke. He was gone. Panicked, I jumped down, grabbed my flashlight and called his name. No answer. Then I heard him on the walkie I set to a low channel. "It's okay. They're friendly." His voice, though I'd only left the device in my pocket. I followed the footsteps to the back wall. The hollow thumps grew louder, faster. "Come join us." I wrenched open the last floorboard. A dark shaft stared back. Sam's boot sat at its lip. "Don't do it," I yelled. "Don't go in." His head appeared above the board. He smiled, a blank, distant grin, and disappeared. I never saw him again. I fled to the nearest ranger station with the walkie. They dusted the crawl space, found no footprints, no fabric. They let me record the audio. Playback. Faint creaks at 2:09 a.m. Sam's voice. "They're calling me." Distant thump thump. A chorus of echoing whispers. "Join us, brother." Sam. "I'm sorry." Then silence. No sound of steps away, just static. A week later I returned alone, camera in hand. I searched every inch. No Sam, no sign of him. Then on the mantel, I found a Polaroid tucked beneath an old cap. It showed Sam, standing in the crawl space, his face lit by my flashlight. He wore a drawn expression, tears in his eyes. Behind him, the dark logs seemed to pulse. Some nights, I swear I hear a voice calling my name through the walls, and I wonder, did I leave him behind, or did someone else call him home? If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others. Hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. My brother and I lifted the rug and found the trap door. It looked sealed for decades, but when it opened, we realized we never should have. I needed to get away. My brother, Evan, needed me more. After Dad died, he inherited the old family cabin. 2 stories, red shutters, the kind of place you drive past 100 times as a kid, but never think your own. It sat on a gravel lane half a mile off the nearest road, deep in the Allegheny woods of northwestern Pennsylvania. No cell service, no neighbours, just pines so thick the sun never hit the ground. Evan and I planned a weekend there in late October, just to clear our heads, sort through Dad's things, perhaps decide what to do with the place. We arrived Friday afternoon. The cabin door was unlocked, as Dad always says, so the neighbours can pop in. But the neighbours haven't come in years. Instead, dust-covered furniture, stacks of National Geographic back to the 1960s, an old pool table in a corner, a placard Dad made hung by the fireplace. "Our secret is safe here." Evan smiled, wiped a cobweb from the oak mantel and said, "Let's dig." The first night we built a fire, cooked sloppy joes and drank warm cider. I slept on a pull-out couch. Evan took the loft bed above. Around 2:17 a.m, I woke to a faint thump, like something heavy settling. I chalked it up to old floorboards, but then another, soft, deliberate, rhythmic. I sat up and listened. The loft ladder rattled, a drawer squeaked open. My heart pounded. I yanked on my jeans, grabbed my phone, no signal, and I climbed the stairs. Evan's bed was empty. The light above it, the one he always left on, was off. I saw a footprint in the dust, leading from the bed to the floor. "Evan," I hissed, voice trembling. No reply. I followed the prints around the loft railing. They stopped at the far corner, where a heavy rug lay, folded under a paint can. My mouth went dry. Downstairs, I flipped on the hall light and pulled the rug fully aside. Beneath it, a trapdoor. The wood was old, scarred and darkened. It hadn't been opened in decades. I didn't want to, but I had to know what Evan saw. I grabbed a tire iron from the kitchen, wedged it under the edge and pried. The hinges groaned, dust puffed up. Underneath, a ladder dropped into total darkness. I texted him, "Trapdoor? You see?" No answer. Hey guys, have you ever found a hidden door in a place you thought you knew? Let me know in the comments. I swallowed, switched on my flashlight, pointed it down. Ladder rungs disappeared into black. I called his name. No echo, no reply, just the low hum of the old propane stove. I took the first rung. The wood creaked. I felt watched. My phone's light caught on something halfway down, glinting metal. A wire mesh grate, rusted, sealed above chest high, like a prison barrier. I dropped to my knees, peered under. The floor was stone. Saw what looked like clothes. Old clothes, piled. I stretched, slipped under, and shone the light. It was a narrow hallway, 6 feet long, makeshift crude concrete walls, thick beams overhead. At the end, a door, metal, dented, a padlock still intact. I tugged on it, locked. I checked the hinges, rusted but whole. The lock had been cut once then repaired. I heard a creak upstairs, like heavy boots. I froze. "Evan?" I whispered. No answer. I yanked the door open, a rush of cold air. Inside, a small room, floor dirt, and 3 wooden chairs arranged in a circle. On each, a set of clothes, men's, women's, children's, every age, all stained and mildewed. A voice crackled on my walkie, though it was off. "Welcome." My blood ran cold, then another. "We're waiting." I swung around, no one visible, just beams of my torch hitting dusty cobwebs. I shattered a chair arm with the tire iron and bolted up the ladder. By the time I kicked the trapdoor closed, I heard something heavy drop below. I grabbed my coat, ran outside, found Evan pacing the front porch in stocking feet. "Where were you?" he asked, voice tight. "Down there," I panted. "In the cellar." He shook his head. "There's no cellar, no trapdoor." My heart froze. I led him to the living room. Rug down, no trapdoor, just floorboards. He put his hand on my shoulder. "Dude, that's not here." I backed away, chest heaving. Outside, the pines swayed. Fog had rolled in. It felt thicker than before. We argued. I insisted. He grew angry. I stormed out, flashlight beam bobbing, transversed the clearing. No hatch, no ladder. Then I saw something, a dirt patch near the foundation. Fresh turned soil, no leaves. I knelt, scraped away. There, a rusted padlock ring half buried. I gloved up and yanked it free, attached it to my belt and ran back. Evan was gone, no footprints in the gravel. His phone and keys lay on the bench by the door. I scanned the woods, called him. Nothing. Morning came. I returned to town, reported him missing. Rangers searched 5 days. Found no sign. No footprints, no scrap of fabric. Just that lone ring of rust. Weeks later, I received a padded envelope, a single Polaroid paper. Inside, a photo of me, standing on the porch, taken at dusk. Then another, me kneeling over the dirt patch. Then another, a blurry hallway, an old circle of chairs and clothes. No note, no name. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it. I never found my brother, but every so often I get a VHS tape in the mail. It's blank until you hit play. Then you see the trapdoor opening and someone climbing out. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others. Hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. On the second morning, we found photos tucked under the door. Pictures of us taken through the window while we were sleeping. And when we tried to leave, the car wouldn't start because someone didn't want us to go. My 3 college friends and I arrived at the cabin late afternoon in October 2021. We'd been looking forward to a long weekend off-grid, no cell service, no distractions, just dark nights and crisp mountain air. The cabin was an old Forest Service retreat on the edge of Sequoia National Forest, built in the 1930s. 2 rooms, wood stove, solar lights, no Wi-Fi. We drove 12 miles down a dirt forest road that wound through giant trees, then a mile on a footpath to a clearing where it stood, a weathered pine log structure with a screened porch and a rusted tin roof. We unpacked, lit the stove and made chili in Dutch pots. Jokes about ghost stories turned into real unease as the sun sank behind the redwoods. Outside, the forest grew silent, like it was listening. Night 1 passed normally. We talked until midnight, then dozed off. I woke at 2:03 AM to the sound of something sliding across the porch floor. I opened my eyes to see nothing, but a sliver of light from the stove illuminated a single Polaroid tucked beneath the door frame. I sat up and pulled it free. Through the flash, I saw a shot of me, sound asleep on my bed, exactly as I lay. My camera was on the table inside. No way anyone could have snuck up that close without us hearing. I nudged Jess, who groaned and turned over. We shrugged it off and left the Polaroid on the table, unresolved. Next morning, we searched the bushes around the cabin. No footprints, no signs of human passage. Branches intact, no tracks in the soft earth. That afternoon, while gathering firewood, Sarah found another Polaroid wedged under the porch chair. This one showing Mark asleep on the floor, blanket pulled over his head. We huddled inside, unsettled. We decided to sleep in shifts and keep an eye on the door. We moved beds to face the windows, double-checked the locks. By 11 PM, saw nothing. At 1:45 AM, Mark heard a click, like a camera shutter at the window behind him. He grabbed the flashlight, flung the curtain back, and blank wall. No person, no camera, just dense redwood. By sunrise, tension was high. We packed for an early departure, but our car, parked at the trailhead 7 miles back, refused to start. The battery fine, turnaround cables untouched, fuel gauge full, spark but no ignition. We tried it again and again. At noon, we agreed to hike out and leave the car behind. As we grabbed our packs, a final Polaroid slid under the door. This one showing all 4 of us standing outside the cabin door, smiling at the camera, as if posed. We froze. The red hooded figure we'd never seen once appeared in the darkness behind us, face obscured, hands raised, camera in hand. We dropped our packs and ran through the woods as fast as we could. No trail markers, cursed lengthening pines, every snapped twig a scream. We reached the surface road at dusk, no car in sight. Someone had driven it off overnight. We cursed in panic and began walking the road down to the highway. A mile in, Sarah pointed at the trees. Along the road's edge, small flashes, camera shutters, went off rhythmically. We ran blindly until we saw headlights. A passing pickup truck stopped for us. We jumped in. The driver asked what happened. We told him the story. He frowned. "That cabin's been closed for years," he said. "Last guest found half a mile down, blabbering. Said something like, 'I knew you were there. I saw every picture.' They never found the others." He drove us to the station. We reported it. Search teams combed the woods, found our car, engine destroyed, doors pried open, dash smashed. No sign of us slipping Polaroids under the door. No sign of 4 of us ever being inside. A week later, I checked my email. No messages, until an unfamiliar address pinged me one photo attachment, a single scanned Polaroid. A photo of me, sitting at my desk at home, typing this story. My door is locked, security cameras show no one near my house, but at the edge of the frame, just above my monitor, are two red hooded eyes, watching. I never saw anyone, but I watched every photo develop and realised the cabin was never empty. If you made it this far, maybe you're not like the others, hit subscribe and I'll keep the stories coming. We drove down that gravel road, turned every corner onto the main highway, only to find ourselves back at the cabin 5 times, and with each loop, the woods got darker. It was early December 2023 when 5 of us, college friends from Seattle, rented the Elderwood cabin for a weekend. The listing boasted, secluded mountain hideaway, no cell service, perfect for a digital detox. We arrived around 3 PM, snow falling thin and fast along the Cascade foothills. The 6-mile forest track had been ploughed just enough to drive a 2-wheeled vehicle, but slick enough that our car fishtailed more than once. The cabin sat in a small clearing surrounded by ancient firs, a wood stove, single light bulb, and an old fireplace composed the interior. No Wi-Fi, no landline, no satellite. Ideal, or so we thought. Our group, me, Claire, Marcus, Jenny and Lewis, split chores. I chopped the woods, Marcus stoked the fire, Claire brewed coffee for the morning. By 8 PM, the stove warmed the room, and snow piled against the windows like a dome. We played board games by lamplight, laughed at old stories, and fell asleep in shifts. At 7 AM, we packed up to get breakfast from the main road. Car brought us around, doors locked, bags stowed. Marcus insisted on taking the same narrow track out we came in. 20 minutes later, we emerged on the same clearing. Confused, Marcus said, "That's not possible. We've gone north on Riverside Road." Lewis checked the GPS, no signal, but it showed our arrow stationary. Jenna Pale whispered, "We're back at the cabin." We all watched the log appear through the pines, exactly as before. We tried again, same track, same turns, back at the cabin. Loop 2, the snow was lighter, firs looked fresh. Loop 3, snow was heavier, tracks buried. Loop 4, a low fog rolled in. And Loop 5, trees had shifted, some torn, some bent. Nothing looked familiar except the cabin's lit window. Care sobbed, "We're trapped." We abandoned the car and marched on foot towards the highway, but the firs closed in, and every hour of us walking left us a quarter mile from the cabin, not the highway. Our watches spun, days blurred, food supplies dwindled. Each morning felt like the same dawn, and Jenna claimed she saw us playing the same board game again, as if we'd never left the night before. We marked the walls with tally marks, 56 loops. Marcus drew a crude map, redrawn tracks over and over, always leading back. At night, disembodied whispers echoed through the logs. "Stay with us, don't go." And footsteps in the attic. No attic existed. We barricaded doors with chairs, yet each sunrise we found them stacked neatly to one side. On loop 60, we woke to an earth-shaking crack. The forest trembled, a distant avalanche. We ran towards the sound. At first light, we burst out onto a paved Forest Service road, littered with abandoned cars and empty cabins. We flagged down a ranger. It was Sunday, 6 days after our arrival. No storms reported, no searches. When authorities finally reached Elderwood cabin, the snow was untouched, no tracks, ours or the cars. Inside, the fire was cold, tally marks scratched into the table, 56 loops, a single message carved on the doorframe. We never left. If you're hearing this, it means I survived long enough to tell it, and sometimes, when I drive past that road entrance, it feels like the trees are shifting, waiting to lead me back.